so far. My name is Brandon Okpalobi. The Dream Team, as you can see in our blue shirts, are very excited to engage you today on different test taking skills, but also really try to expand your mind to let you know how you can also expand the minds of the future, right? You're taking this to impact the future. And I think that is extremely important. And so what I do with one of our companies, Divvy Athletic, we train the future and we promote excellence through athletics, through sports. That allowed me to start Dream, which means development through recreational education for aspiring minds. So we have Dream Academy, which is our after school program. We have STEM Saturdays, which is our weekend enrichment. This is our virtual studio where you see Dream Big here. We have the Spark Summer Institute, where we engage kids through social emotional learning, arts, sports, and STEM. And I'm missing one more thing, financial literacy. And then we have Dream Scholars, where we give youth graduating high school scholarships to college. And then we have Dream Explorers, where we send kids on a transformational leadership experience to Africa. I'm Nigerian, so it's important for me personally to ensure that kids have that experience. I've been blessed to be well-traveled, so I think it's important for our youth to have the same. So I'm going to introduce Dr. Yvette Holmes. She is going to come in and really get you all started, and also Miss Leah as well. They're both will do an amazing job of really preparing you for what you're about to get into. So thank you for your time today, and looking forward to it.
Very good. I think my computer glitched. So we're going to get started. As Brandon Okpalobi mentioned, I'm Dr. Yvette Holmes. I have to start off by saying that I am a professor, and I also am a rattler. I forgot to mention this yesterday. I'm a rattler, so I am super excited to be giving back to my alma mater and talking to my fellow rattlers in the College of Education. Now, this is a small group between Nadia, Kendall, Ayana, Joseph, and our other users. So we can see all of you all in one screen. So there's no hiding today at all. So we ask that you all pay attention, that you give us your undivided attention, put your thinking caps on. We're gonna make this engaging and fun and interactive. Obviously, you're preparing for the Florida Teacher Certification Examination, and we wanna help you learn how to take the test. So it's not necessarily about getting the right answers, but teaching you how to work through the questions and eliminating the bad choices and selecting the right choices. So for today, STEM stands for scan, think, evaluate, and eliminate, and then make a good decision. And those are the steps we're going to take you through: scanning the questions, thinking clearly, eliminating the wrong answers, and then making a really good decision in the end. We've got a scavenger hunt. We've got some interactive activities at the end, so pay attention. And there are chances to win prizes, and these are Amazon gift cards. So we all could use a little bit of Amazon in our lives. I'll pass it off to Miss Leah to introduce herself, and then we'll jump right into it.
Okay, hello. So I am Miss Leah. I am a special education teacher. I work in Texas. But my thing is, I definitely know that in the 5 examinations that I took, once I learned these strategies, it was a lot easier for me to take the test, and I passed each one on my first attempt. Now, I did have my content area exam, and then I had other examinations that I took one because I had to, and then other requirements just to become a teacher. So I would say that, I mean, using these strategies and actually knowing how to take the test or how to think when you take the test is important. And I can guarantee you, you go in there with the right mindset, with the right strategies, and you'll be able to overcome that test, especially if you don't feel like, you know, you have what it takes right now.
All right, so we're gonna get started with our workshop today. Joseph and Antonio, we are gonna ask that you turn your cameras on for us if you are able to. If you want a device that allows for you to turn your cameras on, please do so at this time.
Hi, Reggie.
There we are. All right, so let's get started. So today we're talking about effective test-taking strategies Specifically, we're looking at thinking about how you're thinking and thinking about what you're thinking about. It's kind of a tongue twister, okay? But you may have heard this before. Thinking about how you're thinking and what you're thinking about. Miss Leah?
Yes. So thank you, Dr. Yvette, for meeting that for me. So I have a question. This is where you have to engage with me. Thinking about how you're thinking and what you're thinking about. That sounds something like a term that I've heard before in education, okay? And I'm going to ask you if anybody knows what this word is that we're defining. We could say it like thinking about how you're thinking and what you're thinking about. Or we can say awareness and understanding of your own thought process. What is that called? The awareness and understanding of your own thought process.
Antonio, you look like you've got a response.
Critical thinking.
Say it again, Nadia.
Critical thinking.
You said it's breaking up a little bit, so I can't exactly.
She said critical thinking.
Okay.
Critical thinking.
And you know what I like about that answer? That is actual critical thinking. It is something that you have to critically think about. So that's not the exact word, but that's also another way to say that being this word metacognitive, if y'all are not aware of the word, is called metacognitive. So being metacognitive is a critical thinking skill that you have to have, especially to be aware and understand your own thought process. Does that make sense? So that's the word that we're defining here. And that is what we are going to talk about today, is a lot of metacognitive strategies for you to think about how you're thinking. So that we can move on.
We've gone through the introductions. We start out with Brandon Okpalobi. He's the founder of Divya Dream, CEO of Divya Athletic, and the CSO of Science. I am Dr. Yvette Holmes. I'm a professor, consultant, trainer, and entrepreneur. And then also, as our co-host today is Miss Leah. She's a special ed teacher, trainer, and student mentor, and has successfully passed her examinations. So the purpose of the workshop today is really simple. We want to empower you with strategies to help you perform better when you're taking your Florida Teacher Certification examination. It's that simple.
That simple. Okay, it's game time. So we're about to play a game. And this is a game where you have to move around a little bit. I'm gonna wait on the screen to sketch up too. Okay, so we're gonna have 1 minute. And I'm gonna put 7 items up on the board, or 7 items on the screen. And once you see the items that are up here on the screen, I want you to go and find those items. The first person to come back to the screen and the second person to come back to the screen and raise your hand. And raise their hand will receive a prize. So does everybody know how to raise their hand? Can y'all just show me real quick how to raise your hand on the Zoom app? There you go. There we go. There we go. Perfect. And then, okay. So now everybody can put their hands down. And once everybody puts their hands down, then I'll know we are ready. And then the screen is going to change and you're going to hear a countdown. Dr. Yvette, can you unmute it, please? Thank you. Perfect. All right. And we are ready.
T-minus 1 minute.
Is it up there?
Now you may have to get out your seat to find some of these items.
T-minus 50 seconds. T-minus
I see
40
Joseph
seconds.
collecting his.
Right? Kendall has everything he needs already on.
T-minus 30
Ayana's
seconds.
collecting her stuff.
Antonio was quick.
T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
All right. So while Ayana is on her way back, and I see Janaya is still out, and say Dibby a Dream couldn't get all his items in enough time. Couldn't get it. Okay. So here's
Index
what
card.
it's all right. Professor couldn't get it either. Oh, you did. You got it. Oh, he got it. He's okay. Good. Okay. So what we're gonna do is Antonio and Nani. So I want to know. I really want to know what your healthy snack is. Can you show me what your healthy snack is, Mr. Williams and Miss Riley?
Oh.
And Miss Riley, actually, okay. Those peaches, pineapple.
Oh no, they're pineapples. I don't like
Yes.
peaches.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, pineapples. And then you also had index cards?
Club crackers.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. Say low-fat crackers.
It's lagging a little bit on my end. And then, let me see. I heard somebody say they had low-fat crackers or some crackers.
That was Mr. Williams.
Okay, okay. That's your healthy snack. Okay. And then I'm going to ask one more. I'm going to say, can I see your notebook or your journal or your composition book? There we go. Now, Ayana, did you have do you have a highlighter or a red pen?
I do not.
Neither one? Not a red pen or a highlighter?
No, I had a highlighter, but I lost it.
Okay, so now we got to get you another highlighter because you need a highlighter for sure. Or a red pen, one of the two, either or. Okay, and then Joseph, are you able to, did you get your bottle of water? There you go. That's what I want to see. And then I see she's not back yet. And Kendall, what did you already have in front of you? What do you have in front of you right now?
I got me a bottle of water, a highlighter, a notebook, my book bag, some fruit cups, and a pen.
Because I could tell you had everything because you didn't really get up. You just kind of looked around and was like, yep, got it.
Oh yeah, I have everything but the index cards.
Oh, Kendall, see, I always had that one friend, Kendall. Just like, whenever I do this presentation and this workshop with other people, it's those index cards that I say is really important. Not having your highlighter or your red pen is okay, because we can still make other notes. You can circle things, you can bubble something, you can draw an arrow to it. But not having those index cards, it gets hard because when you're trying to study, you can't just quickly access something just to kind of, quickly go through something in your spare time. So those index cards, Kendall, I say get them as soon as you can, because that's something that when you're about to take a test, you definitely want to use those to study with. All right, Dr. Yvette.
And let's talk about Miss Ayana with the highlighter and the red pen. Tell us the purpose of the highlighter and the red pen, Miss Leah.
So I would say this. Okay. Let me see something. Antonio, Mr. Williams. When you study or whenever you're finding information in the text or when you're in class taking notes, do you utilize a highlighter?
Actually, I do not.
Okay.
Well,
okay.
That's usually because most of my classes are music classes, so the pencil is usually my best friend.
There you go. Okay, so fair enough. So let's say whenever you're preparing for your, what you are doing now, whenever you're using your index cards, at times, you want to highlight things. Even whenever you're in class and a teacher says something important, people tend to go in and they highlight that important, piece of information in their text, in their notebook, on their index card. And then at times, as you're studying with your index cards, has it ever been a time, Joseph, where you're studying and it's that one thing that you cannot remember? It's one thing. It's like, man, I struggle with this one thing. Has that ever happened to you? Did my computer? I didn't hear you. Did anybody else hear what he said?
No, I think there's a lag on his side. Or
Okay.
he's still on mute. You're on mute, Mr. Williams.
And in that case, this is what I want to say. Typically, whenever we study, there are times where there's that one concept or maybe that one term that you just can't remember. Going in and actually rewriting it or tracing over what you wrote with your red pen can really help your mind to remember, because that's that one concept. Every time you see it, you wrote it in red, you highlighted it, and in your mind, it helps you to trigger, that memory of whatever it is that you were struggling with. I remember that because I wrote it in red. What did I write in red? What did I trace in red? What did I highlight and write in red? So that's my little highlighter in red tip. So now we can move on to the next slide. So my winners for that is Nadia and Antonio. Kendall, I really like that you had everything in front of you already except for those index cards. So I say you're definitely, I'm gonna give you something for that too, just for being that prepared already where you were.
I agree with that. So we've got 3 winners for today's session. Professor Moise, we'll send you, we'll get their emails and send their gift cards. So let's keep moving forward. So the idea today is to teach you how to respond to certain types of questions. We'll go over 4 different types of questions, or 4 different approaches to looking at questions. And keep in mind, you're going to scan the questions first, scan the answers. Then you're going to think about it. Eliminate the responses that you absolutely know are not right. And then you're going to make an intentional decision. And so we're going to start with the first activity here, and I'll let Miss Leah actually take us there.
Okay, so we're going to show you a question. And in the question that I'm asking you right now, I want you to pick the best term, okay? Or actually, let's start like this. Okay, so consider a class structure where students are doing this. They flow in different groups and pairs that best support their strength and social aptitude. And they pause regularly to reflect on what they are learning and discuss different ways to think about the content that the teacher may not have presented. This reflects a what type of classroom? Where the students flow in different groups and pairs, where they reflect on what they're learning, and they discuss different ways to think about the content. You have a laissez-faire classroom. We have student-centered classroom, group learning model, and outside the box classroom. If I give you 5 seconds to think, I want everybody in the chat to just pick an answer. Tell me which one you would think. I wish I did it like A, B, C, D. Oh. Or actually, you can do L, S, G, or O. Let's just do it that simple. L, S, G, or O. And some of these you might not have heard of before. And that's okay. So which one would you select?
All right, Nadia says L, Kendall says G, Antonio also with G, Joseph with G.
Okay. Okay. And this is an interesting way to look at this question right here.
Nadia has changed her response to a student-centered classroom.
Okay. So I like the fact that everybody was kind of, and I'm gonna make a confession. When I first read this question, I know the answer to this question, okay? But when I literally was not paying attention and I was just like, oh, okay, I was just clicking through, taking the practice exam online, I literally clicked group learning model. I did. Now I'm gonna be honest with you. I have never heard of a group learning model. But in me quickly taking the test, I literally chose the answer that did make the most sense because I wasn't familiar with any of the other type of classrooms that I have listed. So have y'all heard of any other, has anybody heard of a student-centered classroom outside the box classroom?
No.
Right. And honestly, I've never heard of an outside the box classroom, but I mean, I can see how that can make sense. You know, your class is not a typical classroom. It's outside the box. When I look at group learning model, I'm thinking to myself like, okay, it's a group of students, right? Like it says in number 1. And then this group of students are going to pause and stop and think. And then this group of students are going to now discuss. So that does seem like a group learning model. A laissez-faire classroom, Dr. Yvette, she could probably explain that a little better, but it's no need right now because the answer is a student-centered classroom. Okay, so the answer is actually S. So Nadia, what were you thinking about when you changed your answer?
So I didn't.
Yeah, there's a lag part on her side.
Mm-hmm. But the good thing is that she's.
I know she can hear us, but we can't.
I know.
She can't hear you. We
It
can't hear
sounds
her.
interesting. Right. So Nadia, I know that you had your reason for selecting that, and that was right. So you went from one answer to another answer choice because after you thought about it, because I know obviously in between the two times there was some thought in there, you said, you know what? It's something about student-centered classroom that sounds right to me, or you remember what that actually meant. So on an index card, you know, if you were to have all of them already laid out, you probably would never run across group learning model in your stack of cards, because that might not be a term that we even use in education. Group learning model might be something that exists, but not in education. Therefore, if you've never heard of it, as you're doing your studying, and then you get to your test and you see something that you've never heard of, don't choose that answer. Even if it sounds right, you're like, but I've done all this studying and I've never heard of group learning model, but it sounds like group learning model. Don't select it just because it sounds good. Stick with the things that you know that you've studied and the terms that you've heard before, because more than likely that's the answer to the test. And maybe you just forgot what that one meant, but don't choose the one that you've never heard before. Let's say that. So in this case, y'all did good because you chose the one that sounded right, considering that none of them were really that familiar with you at this moment. So we can move on to the next question.
So this question is, this format's a little bit different. We're asking you to approach this question by looking at the answer choices first before even reading the question. So we're going to give you 1 minute to review these 4 answer choices, having no idea what the question is, and seeing if you can eliminate which responses absolutely need to go. And if you can select the right one, and then we'll show you the question.
Mm-hmm. So the options. I'm going to read out loud as you're reading and thinking too. Setting up several morning worksheet baskets throughout the classroom. Eliminating the activity and just requiring students to go directly to their desk. Keeping the process the same because students are now in a routine. Having students one at a time, putting away their items and getting up to retrieve a worksheet. I'm gonna ask Kendall. Kendall, I think we should be able to hear you. Kendall, if you had to eliminate one or choose one, what would you do?
I'd probably eliminating the activity, just requiring students to go to their desk.
Fair enough. I think that's fair. Because I mean, why would you just want to eliminate the activity and just tell everybody to go sit down? That doesn't sound like something we would be choosing as an answer to a question to become a teacher or an educator of some sort, right? Okay. Let's see, Ayana, is there one that you would eliminate or choose as the right answer?
I was thinking to eliminate the same one, but for a right answer, having students one at a time putting away their items and getting up to retrieve a worksheet.
Okay, why do you choose that answer as the right answer? Not even knowing the question. If you had to say there was a right answer, that's the right answer. Why?
It just seems like a good process.
Fair enough, right? Antonio or Nadia, give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. Do you agree with what she's saying or do you disagree? Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so I agree. I agree because simply let's look at the question. I'm about to say, let's look at the question. I can't tell you why I agree.
Well, do you agree, Ms. Leah?
Do I agree? I agree. Okay. So if I had to eliminate a question or if I had to eliminate at least one, I'm going with eliminating the activity and just requiring students to go directly to their desk. Because that doesn't seem like something that we do typically in the educator world. We try to adjust. We're going to accommodate. We're going to scaffold and do other things before we just eliminate the activity altogether and say, everybody just go sit down. And then as far as having students one at a time, putting away their items and getting up to retrieve a worksheet, now this is what I would say. Doing it one at a time and putting away their items and getting up to retrieve a worksheet, fair enough, right? It seems something simple. You'll establish order in your classroom. You'll know that the students are going, in a sequential, do this. Once you've done this, now I see you're going to get your worksheet. But then you think about time. You ever thought about how slow maybe a third grade class is? How short their little legs are? So I would say that that's a good answer choice if you had to choose one to be right, but it isn't the right answer. So if you look at the two that we still have, setting up several morning worksheet baskets throughout the classroom, or keeping the process the same because the students are now in a routine, one of those two has to be the right answer. So, Janaya, are you there? Antonio, so let's say this, setting up several morning worksheets, right. Nadia, I agree with you. Nadia said keeping the process the same because students are now in a routine. Correct. Correct. No, I'm not even, I'm just, you know what? This is good. I like y'all. I like this class. Because when you think about it, let's look at the question. Let's go to the question.
Oh, goodness. Sorry about that.
It's okay. Sometimes, technology. So we have to work with it. It does not work with us. So the question is, and I pretty much have the question memorized already, so I can pretty much tell you. Okay. First grade teacher requires students to retrieve a worksheet from the morning basket and begin working on it each morning after they put away their coats and assemble their supplies. However, several weeks into the course, the teacher recognizes that too many students are trying to get their worksheet at the same time. Which approach should the teacher take? Now tell me your answer. Would you say set up several morning worksheets throughout the classroom? Would you eliminate the activity? Would you have students go one at a time? Or would you have them go in a process? This is the one where in a particular classroom, the answer would be, can you go to the next slide if you can? Yeah. So in this case, when you think about students and you think about in this classroom, you're thinking to yourself, okay, they're telling me that these students in this class are going to get worksheets. but it seems that it might be taking too much time. They might not be doing it. And, you know, in the classroom, typically, you're going to have a order. You might come in, take your attendance, and do what it is you need to do. No matter if you're teaching math, no matter if you're teaching music, whether it's physical education, it still goes across the board. When you're in your classroom, you know, you want to move from step to step, and you want it to go as smooth as possible, but you don't want to utilize too much time. So in this question, you think about it, you don't really want to eliminate the activity altogether because you want the student to turn in the worksheet. So that's what you want. You want the work, you want the activity, you plan the activity, you want it to happen. So then you go, and actually, Dr. Yvette, can you go back one more time for me? Yeah. So you plan this activity to happen, and then it seems as if it's just becoming a little too much. So keeping the process the same is not going to work for you because ultimately, you know, you already want to change the process. And that's why you're having to ask the question, or what should I do? Let's say. So putting away their items and getting up to retrieve a worksheet one by one, it's going to take more time. Keeping the process the same, well, the process is not working as far as what you've noticed. Eliminating the activity, you don't want to eliminate the activity because you want the students to, you want them to do the activity. As a teacher, for the most part, unless you see that it's just total disaster, you're not going to really eliminate. Once again, you're going to adjust. You're going to make those accommodations for your entire class. So in this case, setting up worksheet baskets throughout the room will be able to quickly handle the issue of the students in the classroom and for the teacher to get what she needs done as well. Does that make sense? Give me a thumbs up, and you can do the reaction on the Zoom. Or you can show me like Kindle. Keep it easy. So sometimes when you take a test, looking at the answer choices can really give you a lot of insight on what the answer, what the question is asking you and how you can kind of determine what's right and what's wrong. So this is another question. Now, I would say this. Have y'all heard of any of these words? Self-efficacy, communication, past experience theory, attribution theory. Have y'all even heard of those words yet? No, right?
Yeah.
You have?
It helps, yes.
Okay. Hey, Nadia, you're back with us. So, okay. So in this case, Nadia, just tell me this. The one word that you know, would you choose that as an answer? Or if you know more than one of them, are those one of the two or the three that you would select as an answer?
No.
No. Okay. I want to ask you why not, but I want to ask you, which one do you think, or which one do you know is not the answer? Let's see. And Kendall, if you had to eliminate one, which one would you eliminate?
Communication. Probably.
Okay. Oh, well, we don't really know the question. What theory can be most usefully applied to a student who allows past experiences to influence belief about future experiences? So which theory has to do with past experiences influencing your future experiences? And Kendall said that he would eliminate communication theory. Okay.
I agree with Kendall on that. I think that's a good elimination.
I agree. Antonio, if you had to eliminate one, or if you had to choose one, Nadia?
I'd eliminate the same.
Yeah,
Okay.
I would choose communication.
You would eliminate communication?
Yeah, eliminate. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Okay. Okay. So have y'all heard of past experience theory? Or Nadia, do you know which one were you saying that you've heard of?
We talked briefly about the first one, self-efficacy theory.
Okay. Okay. So, and you're saying you would not choose that one because you know that doesn't have to do with the question that we're asking, right?
Correct.
Okay. And that's another good thing to know. So just like Nadia, when you get to questions and you know that you understand what the definition is, what the term is, or how to do the process, if that's not the right answer, what you're getting to, don't select it just because you know what it is. So like we were saying in the beginning, if you've never heard of it, you've done all your studying, you don't have to choose the one that you've never heard of and never seen. It's not reasonable to do that when you're taking a test. But if you also know the definition and it doesn't go, or if you know the process and you don't see it, don't choose that one just because you're familiar with it either. So in this case, based on what we already know, we eliminated communication theory, and that's reasonable. Nadia eliminated self-efficacy theory, reasonable. But the answer to this one is, can we go to the next slide? And Dr. Yvette will be able to tell you a little bit more.
So the answer to this is attribution theory. And Nadia, you did great in your selection, because what we know is, out of all four of these, you may not be familiar with them. You may not know a lot about all of them. You did know something about self-efficacy, so you could eliminate that. You knew communication theory wasn't it. And so the last two that remained were attribution theory and past experience theory. Past experience theory does not exist. We literally made that up. But perhaps you heard of attribution theory, or perhaps after you eliminated two, you can then make your best judgment between the final two. So we're trying to walk you through the processes of elimination to getting to the right answer. So in general, attribution theory is this. I studied this in school. It says that, hey, when I do well, I applaud myself. I give myself all the credit. I passed this class. I studied my tail off. I learned what I needed to learn. I passed. But when we don't do well, so when we fail, so if I fail a class or I fail an assignment, we attribute that failure to other people. So I failed because you didn't teach me. I failed because you didn't do this, as opposed to I succeeded because I did something. So attribution says when we're doing well, we take the credit. When we're doing badly, we place the blame elsewhere. We attribute that poor performance to other people. So it looks at our experiences and we attribute, hey, success to ourselves and failure to other people.
So that was the right answer for that particular question. And it's okay that you don't know the right answer to some of these questions, which is helping me to help you to say, like, if you're taking a test, at least think like this, especially if you don't know the answer. If you don't know the answer, think about what you know. So S, where you're scanning and you're looking
let's go to this third question. Yeah, let's go to the third question so that we stay on time. It says, which of the following types of student might word prediction software help the most? Now, these are the answer choices at the bottom. These are different types of students. Which type might word prediction software help the most? Out the gate, I think we can eliminate two of these. And so I'm gonna ask you all to look very closely and tell me which two are you eliminating out the gate? Let's see, Antonio, I see you reading. So let me get Antonio to respond and I'll get Kendall to respond. The two that absolutely must go.
I would say vision impairments needs to go.
Okay. Correct, very good. And what's the other one?
Would hearing impairments go?
Hearing impairments, absolutely. So we've got two that just don't make any sense. Now we're left with the remaining two standing. So those students who have difficulty writing and students that have difficulty organizing their ideas. Of these two, I'm now gonna ask for, let's see, Ayana, who's on the line. Of those two, which type of student might prediction software help the most? And this is they're crafting a document, crafting a message, and they're needing to predict, or the software helps them predict what to write next.
You have difficulty writing a draft of a paragraph?
Absolutely. So that is 100% correct. What we know is that if it's prediction software, it's helping students to write what they've already organized in their mind. So it's not the last answer choice. This software basically is allowing you to, it's helping you write out what you've already started. Now, someone might get stuck between A and D and say, I'm just kind of narrowing it down between those two. You followed the right process by eliminating two. The next step is to evaluate. Can this software really organize my idea? No. Can this software really give me new ideas? No. It actually just helps me with the ideas that I've already formulated and helps me to write them more clearly. So correct everyone in the right elimination and correct in the right selection of the answer choice for this one.
And then this is a simple question here. So let's just read this one. You're choosing the option that corrects an error. And if there's no error that exists, you can say no change is necessary. So it reads, nobody are standing up for me. What would be the correction? B, C, or A? Nadia, you were going to say something? You're saying, oh, B as, so Dr. Yvette, let's go to the next one. It says, so you're saying nobody is standing up for me should be the correct answer.
No, A. Well, honestly, no one is standing up for me sounds so much better.
Oh, pause, say that again.
Say
So you're replacing A with no one?
Yeah, but then again, nobody is singular, so I'd say B. I'm gonna stick with B.
So was that your first answer? Was B your first answer?
Yes.
Well, you're saying, so which one?
She's going back to her first answer of is.
Okay, so B was your first answer. Okay.
And
right.
So this is a good example of, so the answer here is B. It is, we are replacing the word are with is. And I want to say this, that was the first answer. And we want to talk about first mind energy right now, because you changed your answer from the correct one to a different one. And then you came back to the correct answer. So first mind energy tells us that go with what comes to mind first, especially if you're confused with what to select. Typically, the second guess is the wrong answer, because what you know, what comes to mind, your recall is going to pull first thing that comes to mind that you remember. So even if you didn't, I'm going to go back. Even if you hadn't second guessed yourself, if you read this clearly and you adequately swap these words out as they stand, no one sounds lovely, but are is the absolute incorrect answer here. So we're going to replace are with is. And you just want to remember your first mind energy.
And that was good you did that on that exact question too. That was perfect. So nobody is standing up for me was the answer to that question. And when you're taking a test, it's nothing wrong with, it took me 5 hours to take my test. I got 5 hours to complete my test. I used the entire time. What's important for you to remember is that you do have this time. So you have to go through there, and it might take you time. Nadia, you might have to read it 2-3 times. You might only have to read it once. But going in there and replacing every single word and reading it to yourself, asking yourself, does that make sense? It's important. Use the time. Utilize the time for sure, especially when you're taking a test that you had to pay for. So not defeating yourself when you're
the gist here is we want you all to not defeat yourself when you're answering questions. Honestly, it can be overwhelming as you approach the exam. It can be overwhelming in the middle of the test even. But trust yourself to know that you can eliminate out the gate what's wrong. Then you narrow it down to your top 2 or your top 1 that's obviously right. You have a strategy to read the questions first before even coming back to, reading the answer options first before even reading the questions. So that way, some of these don't even make sense in an educator's world. Then the strategy to not just eliminate what's wrong, but in the case of the no one and the nobody, yes, one word is seemingly better than the other, but logically the sentence has to make sense in the end. So selecting the correct response in that case. And the other strategy is really just taking your time and returning back to questions that you were unsure about, because you have the opportunity to go back and return to those questions. And there may be cues and clues and other questions that'll help you get back, make the right selection on the ones that you were unsure about.
And I believe our last slide is the test taking. Oh, knowledge versus wisdom. Well, I don't know how much time do we have left for this class?
3:15, you got time.
Okay. So we have knowledge versus wisdom. You know what? Well, Dr. Yvette, what would you want to say? Do you want to call on somebody and see who can tell us what their definition is, or would somebody want to volunteer? If you know the difference between, or what is knowledge, what is wisdom?
I'm going to call on Joseph. I can't see his face, but I know he's on the line. So I'm going to call on Joseph Muschetti. I suppose that's the last name. If you are here, you hear me? I can't see you, therefore I'm calling on you. The difference between, I'm going to ask you to unmute. There you are, Joseph. Ask you to unmute your mic. The difference between knowledge and wisdom.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. I can't hear you good now.
So knowledge is like information, but wisdom is information that you gain from like personal experiences in life.
But it's good. You gain it from personal experiences, okay? So it's a different kind of knowledge. Still, that's knowledge. But how does it differ from just information?
Because it's more personal to like experiences.
Okay. You're in the right direction.
Well, I get what he's saying.
Yeah,
I get what he's saying, and I don't want to speak for you. So yeah, expand on that just a little bit more when it comes down to wisdom. Like, what do you mean by experiences?
Like learning experience, like learning from mistakes or learning from different experiences in your life to have wisdom.
Correct.
Sure.
So you did it one time, and then you learn from that time to where now you might not do it again that same way, or you're gonna do it again that same way, or you're just going to learn from that experience. So you had knowledge of what it was. I knew what this was, but not until I experienced it was I able to actually understand it and know what to do with it. That sound about right?
Very good. So the reason why we ended this slide is because essentially you would have been studying and preparing for examination day. And in the example that we had, even with like self-efficacy theory and attribution theory and past experience theory, there are some words that you just have knowledge of, and there are some words that you just have defined and you've never really applied them to know. But in scenarios where you've got the information and you've been able to apply it, rely on that as your first mind, rely on that as your first choice when making your selection. So if you've had to actually apply the knowledge that you know into some scenario, in this case, an educator scenario, then utilize that skill. Yes, we're eliminating choices. Yes, we're reading the answers before we read the question, but truly defining words and then thinking about how those definitions apply to real world, how they apply to you as an educator is how you'll be able to answer some of those questions very quickly. Our last slide, I just really want to go over some things for test day. We want you to be realistic about it. So when I say be realistic, I mean, if you know that you have studied and you know that you have prepared and you have done everything that you thought of and others have encouraged you to do, then be realistic. Walk in there very confidently and knowing that you are going to pass and you did well. Also be realistic and know that, hey, decide and determine now if you need to step your game up, if you need to study more, if you need to go into your software and practice more, if In fact, you might need a study buddy. Be realistic about where you stand today and adjust. If what you've put into practice up until this point has been a little shaky, it's okay. It's time to adjust. Be realistic about what you need to do and start now, because you can do it. On test day, and if you're in studying and you start to get a little overwhelmed, relax, take deep breaths. I do it now just in the middle of the day when everything starts to get a little chaotic. This can be overwhelming. So take your deep breaths, relax, rely on what you know, eliminate those wrong choices first. Then once that happens, read the answer options, then go back to the question, really relax and take deep breaths as you prepare for the test. Make sure that you wake up and you're there on time, but when you arrive, that you've had a good night's sleep and that you've also had a really good breakfast, whether it's heavy or light, whatever you're used to, or whatever you know that you can handle, do that. And then also know, and Miss Leah said it, use all your time. Don't rush through. You have time to return to questions. If you feel like, you need to revisit that, then go back to it later and move forward. Keep moving ahead with what you know and be confident in that. You all eliminated the wrong answers already, selected the right ones. So we know that you can do this. It's just about you being really confident in your success and in your performance on the day of. So with that, Miss Leah, did you want to add anything before I move to the final segment?
No, I want to go to the next part because this is
okay.
Good. I know what's coming next, so I'm going to give us a little bit of time to talk about that. So everybody, you have to, if you're not using your phone, then you'll just be able to scan this QR code and it'll take you to a website. If you are on your phone, you can go to menti.com, 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 and then you're going to enter in this code. And then once you're in, press the heart. Press the heart, and once we know, yes, we see y'all are coming in. Okay. Antonio must be using his phone. He came back for the code. 2670-2251. Two 670-2251 for the code. Is that 5 people?
Yeah, we've got 5 in. Janaya, Mincy, are you able to get in? Joseph, are you in? Give us a thumbs up. Antonio, are you in? Kendall, are you in?
There we go. Good, Joseph. We see.
Kendall, yes. Antonio, very good. I'm looking for Janaya to let us know that she's in. No, okay. All right, so we're gonna keep going. Oh wait, there's something in the chat. Yes, Janaya says yes. Thank you. Very good. Let me try to move it forward. For some reason, it's not moving.
Oh, it's because I know I have another question.
All right. So here's the first question. You got 3 words. How are you showing up on test day? Describe yourself on test day in 3 words.
Three words to describe you. Test day is a big day. I know that.
We've got nervous, ready, excited, prepared, very good, focused, confident, absolutely. Calm. Oh, someone's showing up cute.
And that's one of my favorites because when you look
you look good, you feel good.
When you look good, you feel good. You have to. You have to go in there.
Serious.
You do. Whether that's your favorite.
All right, someone said serious.
Mm-hmm. Right. It's game time. It's test time. Test day reminds me of game day when I think about it. The feeling definitely reminds me like I'm about to go out there and do whatever this sport is that I've signed myself up to do. And you get your mind right. You get ready. So I like that. And I see ready. You're prepared. You're standing there. You're excited. And have that confidence, but still be calm.
Well, what we want to encourage you to do is, it's okay to be nervous. It's absolutely normal and expected for you to have a little bit of nerve, because that actually is the adrenaline in the moment and being getting ready to approach a big situation. But I want you to rely on the fact that you've done the best that you can in preparation up until that day, and that you're going to rely on the fact that you're prepared, that you're focused, that you are cute, if you're cute, and you're going to do well. So the next thing, now that we've closed out a little bit, we've got Michelle Obama, First Lady, giving you a round of applause, already congratulating you on your successes. Tell us how you would encourage your classmates before walking into this test. Encourage yourself, encourage your classmates in 3 sentences or less. Say something positive to get everybody excited and motivated about the day. So you should be able to do that from your phone as well.
And test day might be it might be a little while away. But this could even be a moment that you think about on that day to say, I remember, right, we did it. We're here. We're finally here. We're at this point where we are now, where I am now, about to take this test. That's like a good affirmation. That's a good affirmation for yourself and for others. There is nothing that you cannot pass. I believe in you. You will do great because you are ready. I love that as an affirmation. That's good. That is good for somebody else too, but I could see myself sitting in the car telling myself that there's nothing that you cannot pass. Please remain calm. That's good. Attitude is a small thing that makes a huge difference. Use your resources. Definitely. You're your biggest resource too. That's the best part about it. You're your biggest resource. Even if that's your pencil, your highlighter, your pen, a calculator, your brain, resources, more than prepared. Because I can guarantee you, your professor that you have right here, I know for a fact, a lot of the things that he has said over time are the way that, he has confidence in his students. You know that he's instilling something in you. I can guarantee you that. I know for a fact he is. We did it, and let's get right. It's almost like, look, okay, Dr. Yvette, do you have anything to say? I like these responses.
Let's get right. I love that. All right, I'm going to stop the share there. So we're going to conclude today. I want to reiterate that, and we'll let Professor Moise end this out properly. But we've covered some strategies: eliminating wrong answers out the gate, reading the answers before the question. I say it backwards every time. Also, defining your vocabulary in your studies, attribution theory, defining those things, using flashcards and highlighting in yellow, underlining in red. These are all strategies for you to get ready and be confident. He's probably going to ask you what your takeaways are. I might have just given you your answers.